Hi, everyone. It's Matt from The Pen Habit. I am glad to be back, as I always am, for these videos. And we've got a great pen review for you today. This one's a little close to my heart, I have to say. So in previous videos, you've heard me talk about individual pen or a pen or two where I've found them in an antique store. And today's pen is no different. It's probably one of, and I've said this a couple times, but in this case, I think it's probably more true than it has ever been before. This is probably one of the most iconic pens ever. It's been around for a long time. It's called the Parker 51, and you can see it here. This you'll notice there's a little tag still attached. So let me tell you the story of this. I was in an antique store on the waterfront in downtown Seattle. I'm just walking through and, went up to the front and said, "Hey, do you guys have any fountain pens anywhere?" And he pulled this box out from behind the counter. And when fountain pen collectors see an old box, we start to get a little excited, I think, because a lot of times that means the pen inside has either not been used or has been very, very well taken care of. So in the case of this box, I opened it up and found a pristine Parker 51. Didn't know much about the Parker 51s at that point. I had never used one, never bought one before. So I needed to do a lot of research, but it was in the box. And I'm not kidding you when I say this pen is pristine. There's not a scratch. Well, let me back up. The exterior of the pen was pristine. The interior of the pen was not. Someone had filled the pen probably once and just left the ink to dry. And I don't know that it had ever been used to write with. Maybe this had been a sample in a store or something, but it was filled with ink once and never used again, I don't think, because it is in absolutely perfect condition. Like I said, there's even a paper label still on the clip of the pen. So this is a pretty neat little deal here. So let me turn on the lights for my close-up cam, and I'll show you kind of what the pen looks like. So this is the pen here. It's in what I believe is navy gray. It's kind of got a blue tint to it, but it looks kind of grayish. There's a Parker label on the clip, and on this side it's got the Parker logo, the arrow through the circle, and on this side it says fine. And this is definitely a fine nib, as I'll show you in the writing sample a little later on. Now, normally I show you the outside of the pen first, but this time I'm going to show you the inside of the pen, because the thing about Parker 51s is that there are a whole variety of them, and they're over the years, the shape of the pen didn't change a whole lot, but a lot of times the guts did, or the filling systems did. So when I opened it up, I found this. Now, this, if you're familiar with my earlier videos, is an aerometric converter system. It's basically there's a little bladder here, and you squeeze the bar, release the bar, creates a vacuum. Vacuum sucks the ink up through the nib here and into this sack. And the sack is made out of a material called ply glass, PLI-GLASS. I didn't need to replace it. It was in excellent shape, aside from the fact that it was full of crusted ink. Once I got that cleaned out, it was flexible and pliable as the day it was created. So I didn't even bother replacing it. My next clue was in this section here. So it says the Parker Pen Company, made in USA, and then it says Parker 51 Special. To fill, press ribbed bar 4 times, wipe front end, pen point down with soft tissue, use Parker ink. So I got online and did a little research, and the Parker Special was basically kind of the budget version of the Parker 51. There's the 51 standard, and then the Special is very similar. However, this pen is not your standard run-of-the-mill Special. So the 51 Special came with stock came with a shiny cap, stainless steel cap, black jewel on the top, I believe, and an alloy nib. So it was like a steel alloy nib, as opposed to a solid gold nib. Well, when I took the pen apart, I discovered that this pen not only didn't have the standard cap, this is what's called a lustraloy cap, I believe. And you'll notice, you can see from the jewel here, this is actually kind of a silvery color. So that isn't standard for a Parker 51 Special. But what was even more interesting is when I took the nib apart, it turns out that the nib was 14 karat gold, which is what's generally on the standard pens. So really, it looks like to me, and I'm not a Parker expert, the only thing that is making this pen not be a Parker 51 standard is the fact that it's got the special aerometric filler. But all the rest of the parts are what you would find on a 51 standard, as far as I can tell. Um, Based on my best guess and the what I've asked around a little bit online and the packaging, I believe this pen is from the 60s, sometime in the 1960s. It's a pretty pen. It's got the arrowhead clip, pretty standard there. As mentioned, the silver jewel on top coming to a point. But one of the things that makes these pens stand out, is the nib. And you'll see here, it's a hooded nib. So the section comes all the way down and covers up almost all of the nib. There's a little opening here for the feed, uh, which is, it's, if you've been around, you've seen these pens before. So I took the pen apart, cleaned it out, ultrasonically cleaned the interior parts. I did not do that to the exterior parts, reassembled it, and it's working, and it's great. It's a great pen. Um, I was actually surprised at how well. And the best part, I paid $10 for it. Yay. So I'm going to go through, do a little bit of writing with the pen, kind of show you how it writes, and then we'll be back. So here we go with a writing sample. All right, so this is the Parker 51 Special. And we have a 14 karat gold nib in fine. The ink is Private Reserve. Velvet black. It's probably the first time I've used a black ink on this on these videos. I don't use a lot of black ink. With all the great colors that are out there, I sometimes have a hesitancy to put black in my pens, but I like this black ink a lot. It's black. Unlike many of the black inks, which are really dark gray and you can see shading, with a black ink, I don't want to see shading. I just want it to be solid black, and this one fits the bill for me. It behaves pretty well. So, um, and the paper is a Rhodia dot pad. Okay. So let's do just a bit of writing. All right. So as you can see, it writes quite nicely. I've never had problems with skips or starts or anything like that. Um, the nib is pretty rigid. You're not going to find a lot of line variation. I imagine part of that is because the nib is hooded, and so the section is giving you a little bit of additional support. So there's really not a lot of nib to flex right here. I don't know that for sure. Uh, it is also just a touch scratchy going in this direction. Um, it's not the smoothest nib I've ever used, and it probably needs to be adjusted. Unfortunately, and this is one of the things I don't like about this pen, adjusting the nib on this pen is a right pain in the tuchus. It's not an easy thing to do because basically you have to take the pen apart in order to adjust the nib. There's not enough space here to get in and maneuver around. And taking the pen apart and putting it back together again is not it's not a I mean, it's not a hard thing to do, but it can be a little bit of a pain in the rear end if you don't know what you're doing. Um, I need to go in and smooth it out just a touch. I think I can probably do that without having to take it apart. I haven't taken it to any micro mesh or mylar sheets or anything like that. But this is a pen that will work really well for people who are annoyed by feeling threads. There are no threads on this pen. It's basically, aside from this little ring here, which is where you know, unscrew the back part of the pen to fill it. There really, it's a solid, smooth line from top to bottom. Now, it's a little bit narrower than a lot of modern pens, especially, for lack of a better term, what I'll call man pens, some of the bigger pens that men tend to favor. Uh, but it's quite comfortable in the hand. You can see it fits nicely in my hand. Lengthwise, uncapped, it is 128 millimeters, it looks like. And capped, you are looking at 137 or 138. Looks like 137. And you can post the pen. And the length when posted is 153, it looks like. And, it's relatively comfortable posted. Now, the one thing I will say is the cap is pretty heavy in comparison to the pen. And so it will put a little bit of extra weight on the back part of the pen. In terms of weights, let's just do this. So we're looking at, oh, don't roll, please. Looks like it's about 12 grams while inked. And with the cap, you're looking at 20. So the cap is about 2/3 the weight of the pen. And yeah, I mean, well, not quite 2/3. My math is off. Whatever. Uh, it's a nice pen. And I've said this before, but I love vintage pens. I love pens that have a history, even if that history it was filled at the store when I bought it for a friend, and my friend never actually used the pen, which is, I suspect, probably what happened with this pen. I like this pen a lot. Once I get the nib sorted fully, I suspect I'll like it a little bit more. And it's one of those. I'm not sure I would take it with me because I don't want the body's in such good shape. I don't want it to get scratched up. But I do need to get this scratchiness sorted out on the nib. This might be one that if I ever make it out to a pen show, I'll take to a nibmeister to do, because they've probably seen a bazillion of these and know exactly how to fix them. In any case, oh, and quick upside down writing. Yep, it works, and it's actually, I mean, it's scratchy, but it's not the scratchiest I've ever used, and it's a very, very fine line. So I believe that will do it for this review. This is the Parker 51 Special. Just a really neat pen, although it isn't your standard special. It looks like it's a little bit of a Franken pen, but all with original Parker parts. So if you have any questions or comments, I'm sure there are a lot of Parker people out there who will have a better history or understanding of the history of this pen than I do. So please leave your comments down below on the video, or head over to penhabit.com and leave your comments there. You can also find me on Facebook or Google Plus or Twitter. At Penhabit is my Twitter handle. And please share this video, or like it on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. The same spiel I do at the end of every video. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And we'll see you here next time on The Pen Habit. Bye.